With us in studio, our diplomatic correspondent Ellie Hochenberg and Jeremy Saltan, political advisor to the Yamina Party and director of its English operations, and of course Naftali Bennett's Yamina Party. And Jeremy, some significant political news today. As I mentioned at the top of the program, there were discussions already last week of a possible change in government. Perhaps Naftali Bennett replacing Benjamin Netanyahu as prime minister, as at the head of a new coalition, but now reports of some rethinking there.
Yeah, I saw the Channel 12 report. I think it makes...
Not just Channel 12.
Yeah, I know. I think what's best is to wait for Naftali to come out and explain the situation within his own words. What I can say is I think it's quite obvious to everybody who's paying attention and who's lived here in this country this last week that it's very difficult to really expect to see a situation in which we would be able to have Ram and Mansour Abbas together in one of these potential...
Well, I want to say that's the Islamist Arab Party that said, but Mansour Abbas, we should say, has condemned the violence, and he says the opposite. He says these incidents underscore the need to have the Israeli Arabs more integrated into the political process.
Well, you know, I am a very big fan of having the Israeli Arabs integrated into the political process. And again, even though I disagree with pretty much all of his definitely nationalistic views when it comes to, the fact, of course, that they're associated with Muslim Brotherhood and Hamas, who right now we're fighting with at this very moment. But the fact that he wants to go ahead and get more integrated, and I can say again, as someone who lives in Mevaser Tzion, we have close relations, as I do, in the local council on the regional level with our neighbors in Abu Ghosh and the surrounding Arab villages. This is a very important thing, and I will say, even with everything that we're seeing right now within the mixed cities of Lod and Akko and elsewhere within Israel, I would like to see us get to this endpoint at the end of this entire process in which we are able to live together in peace, both Jew and Arab citizens.
Well, okay, that would be nice, but we're talking about the immediate political future, Jeremy.
Yeah, of course. I'm saying, though, at the current point, I just don't see, I don't think many people see, a path forward in which you would be able to sign a coalition deal or even have a situation of support from the outside with Mansour Abbas. Well, there are rockets being sent from Hamas into Israel while that signing would take place. That just seems like a very big stretch to expect something like that at this point.
Okay, so I'm going to turn to Ellie Hochenberg and talk about what are the possible alternatives here. Indeed, if that change that we were already projecting, the change of government would happen, does this mean basically Yair Lapid will fail in his mandate and we'll be heading to new elections?
The options are very clear. It's either so-called unity coalition. This term will make a comeback between Netanyahu's Likud party, Bennett's Yamina party, Lapid's Yesh Atid party, Benny Gantz's Blue and White party, Gideon Sa'ar and his New Hope party, all of them breaching election promises to some extent, but this will claim that the situation necessitates this type of an action. It's either this type of a government or a fifth round of elections. No in between. All those maneuvers of relying on this or that external support of this or that party became completely null at this point in time. Yair Lapid is set to address the Israeli public in less than an hour from now. Bennett's announcement that he's ditching the notion of the so-called change bloc coalition prompted this statement, this pending statement on behalf of Lapid. I will dare to assume that they are coordinated, that Bennett did not blindside Lapid and announced, again, his change of heart without Lapid knowing. Again, it's either a unity coalition of all those parties involved or a fifth round of elections.
Jeremy, is a fifth going to a midst of elections while Israel is both going through this military operation and also unrest in Arab communities? Is that a viable alternative, even though you're rejecting the other scenario that...
Look, again, it's an unacceptable situation for us to go to another election. I think it makes sense to try, whether it's, that there are, I think, some other variations.
Well, give us
whether Gantz is in or out. I don't know. If Sa'ar comes in, then it's more of a right wing. If Gantz is there, then you can call it a national unity. If you have a situation where perhaps you have...
Bennett and Yesh Atid must be part of this potential government if we are to avoid.
I'll be very honest. I'd be very surprised to see Yair Lapid go for that type of situation. I could see a situation where both Gantz and Sa'ar join Bennett together with Likud and the Haredi parties.
I want to be clear because, again, I want to repeat what I said, Jeremy. Just last week, we were speculating the likely possibility that Naftali Bennett would be the prime minister as early as the end of this week.
As early as yesterday.
Right. Okay. So I'm asked. So in the alternatives you're describing, is Naftali Bennett going to be the prime minister of Israel?
That would of course be a matter of negotiation. Like I said, if you do have a situation where both Gantz and Sar are coming over, that would be more of a national unity government. Of course, even without Lapid there, you would be seeing, people from the Bibi bloc coming over. I'm quite sure that neither Gantz or Sar would want to see Netanyahu leading such a coalition. But I think even now, if you were to ask Benjamin Netanyahu, he would tell you that and Eli agrees here, that the 59 coalition that he was talking about with having Mansour Abbas from the outside is not something that's realistic at this point. For the same reason, there are many that will say, the option of having, Bennett with the Change coalition as prime minister with Abbas on the outside is also not something that's realistic at this current time.
The leverage of Bennett with the 7 seats is still quite different than Netanyahu's leverage with the 30 seats at this point in time. But again,
29, really.
29, right.
Smotrich, but yeah.
Right. The leeway here, the maneuverability range is very narrow. So yes, we will see tough coalition negotiations. I have no doubt, because each and every political player will have to justify the move to their own respective electorate. But it is very clear that the security situation internally and externally, it might endure even after the campaign vis-a-vis Hamas will be concluded, hopefully as soon as possible. It necessitates either a very firm action of all those political leaders or a fifth round of elections.
We'll have to see what happens.
We have to say.
We'll have to say. Eli Hochenberg, Jeremy Saltan of the Yamina Party, thanks for joining us.